guys. It looks like Jay, you're the only one in here in the chat, at least. There might be some people, I guess, lurking. And again, I don't mean that in a bad way ever. It's just some people would prefer to watch and not be interactive in chat, which is cool. Jay, can you hear me okay? I've been trying to test my audio out before I do these, just, so we don't have any hiccups along the way. I wasn't sure if it was going to actually stream because YouTube was having an issue. I had to refresh the YouTube page, but then it started streaming, so for whatever reason, it was not cooperating at first. So, I'm just going to kind of go over a few things to give people more time to get in here if they want to before I start with this. I know I say this a lot, but I'm really not anticipating this one being a super long stream. It's just one I came up with kind of last minute last night. But I did want to show off. I don't know if my light's messing those up, you know. But these are Darcy the Mail Girl stickers. I thought that was relevant to what I'm going to be talking about a little bit later here. But I'm going to soon hopefully be using these stickers to put on some things that I'm selling on Etsy. Right now I've just got horror candles, but what I'm hoping to do is expand it to, like, maybe having a Joe Bob and a Darcy and an Ernie candle, possibly. And I need some stickers to put on there. So the Darcy ones are the first ones that I made, and I thought they turned out pretty good. I just want to figure out how to seal them real well. I think I can seal them real good on the tops of the candles, but I was also wanting to maybe go to the Dollar Tree or something and get like cheap glasses, like drinking glasses, not eyeglasses. And also, putting stickers like this on there because I managed to get some really good clear vinyl sticker paper from Amazon. And so I've just been like manipulating the pictures a little better and putting the names on there in Photoshop. Steve asked why it looked faded, which that's why I wanted it to look. It's not really a faded thing. It's like I believe it's called a high pass or whatever in Photoshop. And I just think it makes them look cool. I kind of just wanted to do something other than just a regular picture. So anyway, that's my plans moving forward with my Etsy shop. I have sadly not got any orders for the horror candles just yet. I'm hoping maybe some people may want to get those here before long. I may end up having to lower the price because I was talking to Steve and I said, well, maybe people don't want to pay $10 for 4-ounce candles. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe they'd be more apt to pay $10 or $15 for one of those tall candles, the ones that they refer to as prayer candles a lot of times, with some artwork on them. But anyway, I will, keep filling you guys in periodically on things, the goings on in my Etsy shop. So, anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started. And if you did not notice by the pictures behind me and by the photo that I had on the Dead Pit fan page, I am going to be discussing the various mail girls that Joe Bob Briggs has had over the years. I don't think I'm really actually going to rank them, but I will tell you the things that I liked about each one of the mail girls. And I have, like a huge apology to Darcy, which I will get to um, here, and when I get to the part where I'm talking about her, because um, I did put a link to this on her Twitter feed. So I don't want her to see things that I'd said when I first saw her, because like she's a really great person, and like I said, I'm gonna really go into that in more detail here in a little bit when we get to her section. Hey, Dirk. Um, you didn't miss anything. I was in here blabbing. I'm just now getting ready to get started. And I will also be periodically, I've got some websites up that I brought up some information on the male girls that you guys may or may not know about them, like what they're doing now and things like that. Um, so I just wanted to kick this off and start out with the original male girl, and that is Honey Gregory, um, who is now an attorney. So, one thing you cannot say about these gals is that they're stupid. Um, they're very intelligent, have had very good careers before and after being a male girl. So, um, I actually got to see Honey in person, I guess, a couple of years ago, right before the pandemic got really vamped up. Steve and I got a chance to see Joe Bob, mainly Joe Bob, but like Darcy was there and Honey was there as like a guest. Um, and it was that How Redneck Saved Hollywood show that Joe Bob had. Uh, you was placing an order like for food. Dirk, what kind of food did you get if that's what you're doing? You might have been placing an order for movies. If so, I'm sorry, my bad. I was just assuming like food. Speaking of food, Steve and I ate at Texas Roadhouse earlier, and I had some chili, and I said I wasn't going to drink any alcohol for a little while, but I did have a Kenny's Cooler, which is named after Kenny Chesney. I think he was like, I guess, the person that came up with this particular mixed drink. But I just had one, and I had a bowl of chili and a couple of those yummy rolls that they have at Texas Roadhouse. But anyway, back to Honey Gregory. Um, I got to, well, I didn't go up and meet her, but she was there and I saw her, and she has aged very well, I think. Even Steve was saying that. And um, she was sitting not far from us out in the audience, because it was like, it was pretty much, it was like general admission in there. So it was like, you got your tickets and it was like first come, first serve. And so we were there early and we're at the front of the line, so we pretty much got to get seats in the front row. Ah, the witch from Second Sight and Basket Case trilogy. Well, that's awesome, though. I mean, in some ways, that could be better than food. Um, you'll have to let me know how those look. Um, but yeah, I saw Honey, and I was like, I told Steve, I was like, you should go over and just say hey or whatever, or that you liked her on drive-in theater. Um, and he's like, well, I don't want to bother. He said, I don't want to be a douche and go up to her and just be carrying on. And I was like, okay. Um, but she did seem very nice and cordial. I seen a guy bending down talking to her, and I assumed he was a fan, but it could be possible he was maybe one of the guys that was heading up the show. I'm not really sure because I didn't see a lot of people clustering around Honey. And maybe they had the same idea as Steve. Hey, I don't want to bother. Um, but I did uh, actually get to meet Joe Bob for the second time. I had met him the first time around at a Days of the Dead convention. But this was my first time meeting Darcy. And like I said, I'm going to get to Darcy in detail here in a little bit. But they were both very nice. Joe Bob was very nice the first time I met him. Um, and this time was no exception. Only I got the pleasure of meeting Darcy and getting a picture with her as well. Um, but let me bring up a little bit of information about Honey that you may or may not know. There was actually an article in October of 2012 in a magazine called Bloom. Um, and they did a little interview or article on Honey. And they actually have a picture in this article um, of her at an old drive-in. Um, so Honey Gregory, as this article said, turns the stereotype of the blonde bimbo on its peroxided head. In the early to mid 1990s, B movie fans knew her as the babylicious sidekick of Joe Bob Briggs, aka John Bloom, host of the cult movie shows Joe Bob's Drive-In Theater. So that's why I say Honey is the original male girl, because back when Joe Bob Briggs was doing Drive-In Theater on the movie channel, Honey was the male girl. And then when he went to Monster Vision on TNT, Honey went with him. I'm going to talk a little bit about her career on the Monster Vision show as well. But today she's an attorney and she lives in Bloomington, Indiana. And when this article was written, she had been practicing family law for 9 years. Now, she's a native of Texas, but she moved to Bloomington in '99 to attend law school at Indiana University. So she said ever since she was a little girl, she dreamt of being an actor. She wanted to grow up and be in movies with Elvis. She was 48 in 2012, so you do the math to figure out how old she is now. She decided to pursue her dream of acting while attending junior college in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Now, she got a really good agent who got her an audition with Joe Bob. And she did a few guest spots on his show, and she got quite a bit of fan mail. So Joe Bob, like this article says, he went to bat for her and said that he could use a female sidekick. So she landed a steady role as the first Monster Vision male girl. And she did that for a couple of years, and then she went to Southern Methodist University on a full scholarship. She earned a degree in business administration. Like I said, these girls are no dummies. And then went on to receive a master's in international relations and diplomacy from Schiller International University in London, England. And she did all of that before she applied to law school. And she said it would have been cheaper to stay in Houston instead of paying out-of-state tuition. But she said she didn't want to be in a big city with high crime. And so her fiance at the time got a job at Indiana University. So it was kind of an easy decision for her to decide to move there. She was a single mother and has had a daughter in elementary school. Because I'm guessing she had been married. She had been married before and had gotten divorced. She says when she's not practicing law or doing typical mom stuff like carpooling and laundry, she's writing a screenplay with a strong female main character. Now, I am not sure if that screenplay ever got turned into a movie or not. Um, but yeah, she did get divorced in 1989. Um, and she started out acting and modeling. She studied acting at the Film Actors Studio, the KD Studio, and Northlake Junior College. And while she was at Northlake, she performed in a school play. She appeared in several music videos, industrials, commercials, television series, and one film. And it says on IMDb that she has written a screenplay. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna close that out. Who's getting divorced? Well, I was talking about Honey Gregory, the original Joe Bob Briggs mail girl who got divorced from her first husband in 1989. Hello, Aaron. And let's see, Wes is in here, Aaron's in here, Dirk's in here, and Jay. And then we might have some more people watching. Sorry I missed some of those chat messages because I had some of the URLs open looking at that information. Now, before I go on a little bit more about Honey Gregory, as far as her short stint on Monster Vision, well, I will say Joe Bob's Drive-In Theater was not something that I was aware of originally. Steve was, and I think Steve has several VHS tapes with Joe Bob Briggs Drive-In Theater stuff on there. I would have loved to have been able to watch that the first time around. I just did not realize that it even existed. By the time I discovered Joe Bob, he was doing Monster Vision. So it's fun for me to go back and see those drive-in theater shows. I'm competing with SmackDown tonight. I just can't win. I'm always competing with some kind of wrestling wrestling show. Believe it or not, Steve's not watching any wrestling tonight. I think he's still watching the Creepers cut of Phenomenon. The heavily cut version of that, which is the way the first time I saw Phenomenon was under the Creepers title. Of course, I didn't know it was cut like that. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. What did I think about Honey Gregory as a mail girl and everything? I really liked her as a mail girl. I thought she was sassy and funny and complimented Joe Bob very well. Like I said, I didn't even know who Joe Bob was until I was channel surfing one night. And I guess probably it would have been after he hadn't been on TNT on the Monster Vision show for very long. Because I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of Monster Vision here in a little bit. UFC tomorrow night, so I'm good. Well, I'm glad. Yeah, because, Steve might be, I'm guessing he'll do his captain's quarters tomorrow evening. And I may dovetail on that, but I'm not really planning on doing a live stream like this tomorrow. Mainly because I got to work. I got to work 8 to 5 tomorrow, so... But yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about some backstory on Monster Vision, but I'm guessing it was probably 95 or 96 maybe. And I was channel surfing late one night, just going through the channels. And I saw this guy in like Western attire, and I stopped it, and he was playing The Beast Within. And I just stopped and watched him and listened to him. I was like, this guy is really entertaining. And that was my first introduction to Joe Bob Briggs. Um, and was a fan from there on out. So I did see Honey on there, and I was like, this is cool. I like, I was not offended that, that Honey came out in low cut tops and jean shorts, just because she wasn't there. Just, I didn't feel like she was only there for eye candy. I realized that the male girls are eye candy. I mean, there's no way around that. Because Joe Bob's had some beautiful women as his male girls. So, but I also realized that these women are intelligent, and they played off of Joe Bob very well. There was chemistry. I don't think there's ever not been chemistry between Joe Bob and his male girls. Feel free, guys, to correct me if I'm wrong. If you have noticed where there's like little or no chemistry between him and the male girls. And I don't mean sexual chemistry. I mean they work very well together. They complement each other. They play off of each other with the jokes and the Joe Bob Briggs persona. At least I think it started out as he's like this sexist redneck, that's had 4 ex-wives and all that. And so whoever the male girl was would play off of that persona. So I thought Honey did an excellent job. And Honey is her real name. Joe Bob makes a point to say that whenever he does interviews and he talks about Honey Gregory. Honey was not a made-up name. Several of the male girls have, pseudonyms or whatever you want to call it, stage names, any number of things. But Honey was her name. It still is her name. And I thought she was very attractive then. I think she's very attractive now. Definitely nothing. She should never have to feel ashamed of how she looks or who she is or anything like that. I mean, if you got the looks, you might as well utilize that to some extent. But a little bit more, this is something that really aggravated me about how TNT, the execs and stuff at TNT handled the male girls over time. And I had no idea until I was reading this interview that HorrorObsessive.com did. They did an oral history and interview with Joe Bob Briggs on Monster Vision. So the interviewer asked about the male girls and the fact that they never seemed to stick around for more than a couple of years. And they said they remembered watching once and there being the longtime girl one week, then a new one replacing her the next week, smack dab in the middle of the season. And Joe Bob said that they were pretty much remembering it correctly. The original male girl, Honey, he said at the time she was probably the most popular one. She was there for many years, beginning on the Movie Channel show, and the only reason she was replaced was because the TNT marketing staff didn't like her. Now, why they didn't like her, I don't know. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me because, I mean, what did she really do, or what kind of vibe was she giving off that they could have possibly disliked? Now, I read some other information that said that, over time, TNT wanted to make their programming more female friendly. It's like, what the heck? Like, I've been a huge fan of Joe Bob Briggs for years. I've been a huge fan of Monster Vision. I've become over time a huge fan of drive-in theater by going back and rewatching old shows that I see on YouTube or whatever, or watching, the stuff we've transferred off of Steve's old VHS tapes to a DVD or whatever. I'm a huge fan of The Last Drive-In now on Shudder, as a lot of women are. So I don't understand, unless these were just some uptight women with sticks up their ass about, thought it was just sexist and demeaning. But so anyway, I was a fan of Honey. It would be nice if Honey could maybe return and make a little, a little appearance maybe on The Last Drive-In. Perhaps that's in the works. I would like to see all the old male girls come back at one time or another. That would be awesome. Are you hearing me, Shudder? Because I think that would be a good idea. The next the next male girl, and I didn't realize really that Reno was the second one after Honey, but she actually was. There's not a whole lot of information, sadly, about Reno, or not that I can find. She was evidently an actress, and Joe Bob states that she stayed. She stayed for a little while. She was a Dallas actress, and she got called away to other, as Joe Bob says, more lucrative acting jobs. So, like I said, I don't have a lot of information about her. I was a little sad when all of a sudden I tuned in and Honey wasn't there anymore, and she had become such a staple of the Monster Vision show by that point that you just felt like there was a hole there. And it wasn't that I didn't like Reno. Reno did an excellent job of what she had to work with. As far as I know, she didn't take any hate or anything. I think people just kind of rolled with it and just accepted her into the fold, kind of. I thought she was good as well as being able to compliment Joe Bob and play off him. And, I just love the looks, these little side glance looks that the male girls would always give to Joe Bob when he would come up with this outrageous stuff. It would just always make me giggle. And I think all of the male girls have had that in some respect. So sadly, like I said, I don't have a lot of information, like background information on Reno, other than that she was a Dallas actress. And that she was, in my opinion, really good on the Monster Vision show. Just she kind of had to hit the ground running. It was like trial by fire for her, because it's like they got rid of Honey, and then hurry up, we got to get somebody else in. And I'm sure Joe Bob had a hand in selecting his next male girl, because I think he always has pretty much had that option. The next one, there's not really, I can't find any information on Kat or Kathy Shower, who was a one-time Playboy and Playmate. She was only there for 2 months as the male girl. Before the next official male girl took over. And she's a friend of Joe Bob's, and I didn't have her on the picture that I had advertising this because I couldn't really I couldn't really find any pictures where she wasn't mostly nude. um, and I'm not saying that that's. I mean, if I had been putting this on any other format other than YouTube, I might have went on and put the picture up. But I didn't want I didn't want somebody flagging it on Facebook. I didn't want somebody flagging it on YouTube, and then me not even getting to do my stream because I had a naked or half naked woman on some of my advertisements. So sadly, I didn't have Kathy Shower on there, and again, there's not really any information other than the information that Joe Bob gave, where he calls her the Curly Joe of the Mail Girls, and that she was only there for 2 months. And I honestly cannot recall her being on Monster Vision at all, sadly. But I'm sure she did a good job because I saw, I think, a drive in theater thing that he did about like Scream Queens or B movie girls or whatever. And he had like, maybe it was like Revenge of the Queen Bees or whatever. And like Julie Strain was on there, Michelle Bauer was on there, and I think that was the show where he had Kathy Shower on there. And she seemed like a very nice woman. I have nothing against her. I just really cannot recall her being on Monster Vision. Maybe some of you guys would remember her from that. Dirk, you say you remember as a kid watching Commander USA on Saturdays. Yeah, I never did watch that, but I have seen like clips of it on YouTube, and I think Steve may have watched it. Um, you say he would show all those old horror flicks and movies like Chud. Yeah, and the guy seemed really fun, and I would love to go back and see if there's some more clips, maybe on YouTube as well. Okay, so moving right along is Rusty, who was the next Monster Vision male girl. Um, Rusty was one of my favorites as well. I mean, I really don't have anything bad to say about any of the girls I'm going to talk about tonight. Um, it took, sometimes it takes a little bit for them to grow on you. Like, Honey, I liked automatically. Reno, she had to grow on me. I didn't dislike her. It just took a little bit of time for her to grow on me. Um, Rusty, I guess by the time Rusty came along, people were starting to get used to the male girls switching up. And so it didn't seem to take as long for me to get with the program as far as accepting Rusty as the new male girl. And I do have some background information on Rusty. Her name is actually Renner St. John. And she, believe it or not, and most of you may already know this, is an Air Force pilot. She was in the Gulf War. She was actually the pilot for General Schwarzkopf in Desert Storm as well. So, again, definitely not a dumb woman. She is also a district attorney, I believe, now in Alaska. And she's a super tall girl, too. I'm looking on IMDb, and she's 5'10". So she's pretty tall. So, following the demise of Monster Vision in 2000, she went on to finish law school. She first worked as a prosecutor and later a litigation attorney. She also performed in community theater under the name Sharon Vincent. She's originally from Beaver Dam, Wisconsin. And she also was the subject of criticism by staff at TNT for her portrayal of Rusty the Mail Girl Despite the fact that it was a fictional character, I just don't. Everybody at TNT must have had a stick up their ass, except for Joe Bob and his crew. That's all I can gather. Um, she was the female staff at TNT perceived her as a dumb bimbo, despite the fact that she was a Gulf War veteran pilot and later became a lawyer. But like, screw TNT, I guess. Um, it also was not very good how that Monster or how TNT told Joe Bob that they were no longer going to have a hosted Monster Vision. He basically showed Children of the Corn 2, assumed he would be coming back again, but like a few days after that, he gets a letter from TNT telling him basically your services are no longer needed. And I was like, that's pretty shitty. Um, a prostitute. No, as far as I know, Rusty was never a prostitute. Um, I've also seen later pictures of Rusty or Renner, and she seems to have aged very well. Also, very beautiful woman, but evidently a very strong, smart woman as well. Um, so, again, I'm sorry that I don't have, a lot of background information on the girls. Um, Probably Darcy, who I'm going to talk about here in just a bit, um, is the one I know the most on. Just because Darcy seems to be so open. I mean, she's got a blog and everything. And she's very open on The Last Drive-In as well about her personal life. Um, and I'm not putting down the other girls because they didn't share a lot about their personal life. Maybe they just didn't feel comfortable doing it. Um, and Darcy does. So let me give you a little, but before we go into Darcy, um, give you a little background on Monster Vision. Monster Vision, and I didn't realize this. I always thought Monster Vision was Joe Bob's baby. I thought he was the one that did it, but he did not do it all. Monster Vision actually ran for over 9 years. From June 29th, 1991 to September 16th, 2000. And Joe Bob only hosted from 96 to 2000, a little over 4 years. 1999 started the Joe Bob's Hollywood Saturday Night and Monster Vision, which, in my opinion, I think that was when things started to take a downward turn. You could even tell Joe Bob didn't seem as excited about it as he did just on Monster Vision. Also, Monster Vision started out coming on at 11 p.m. Eastern Time on Fridays. But on June 7th, 1997, it moved to Saturdays. And the reason why they moved it to Saturdays was because of the damn sporting events on TNT. And I don't think it was wrestling or anything. I think it was probably baseball or something similar. July 8th of 2000 was the last Joe Bob hosted show. Penn and Teller had done something previously with it. And then I think before that it had not been hosted at all. And then after Joe Bob, it went back to being not hosted again. So, yeah, that's just a little bit of background on the Monster Vision show. Kind of, it was a real eye opener for me to see that because, like I said, I thought that Monster Vision was always a Joe Bob thing. I did not realize that Penn and Teller had done things with it, that it had ever been not hosted, and all of that. So I apologize. Brandon's barking back there. Brandon, I'll be done in a little while. So moving along to Darcy. Sorry, can't even pronounce the names right. I don't know why I was thinking Dusty. Darcy, who also goes under the name Diana Prince, who is Wonder Woman's name. So I honestly, I'm not even really sure what Darcy's real name is, because Darcy's obviously not her real name. Diana Prince is not her real name. And I'm not sure on the pornos that Darcy was in, I'm not sure what name she used under those. I would like to say that she probably didn't use the Diana Prince name, but I could be wrong. But here's where I said I was going to have to apologize to Darcy publicly on here, in case she were to somehow or another listen to an early Two Against show that Steve and I did early on, when we weren't sure that Joe Bob was coming back for any length of time. That, like, at first we thought the marathon was going to be it, and that was going, and so, me and Steve watched most of that marathon. Some of it we had to watch in pieces, because it was, and actually Pieces was one of the movies on that marathon. I don't know how many of you guys in the chat here had seen, watched the last drive-in original marathon. But I was really excited to see who the new male girl was going to be. Because, like I've just said, the ones that I remember, with the exception of Kathy Shower, I liked all of them. So I just assumed it was going to be more of the same. And Joe Bob says, we have a new male girl, and Darcy comes out. And I found out later how really nervous Darcy was, and also how much flack she took later, for people just did not like her at first. And there was a lot of really nasty things that were said. I didn't get that nasty, but I do feel like I need to apologize to her publicly, in case she either hears that Two Against, or she listens to this and I want to or watches this rather. I want to explain myself a little bit. I just didn't know what to think of her when she came out there. I wasn't sure about the cosplay stuff, and I just, it just was a shock to my system, because I had never seen any of the male girls like Darcy. None of them were like her in any way, shape, or form. And I know the first Two Against show Steve and I did after the marathon, I was very harsh on her. And I would like to say publicly that, Darcy, if you heard that Two Against episode by any chance, or you end up watching this, I would like to sincerely apologize to you, because I realize now what a great person you are, what a sensitive person you are. So what if you were in pornos? That doesn't make the types of movies that you're in specifically doesn't identify who you are as a person. So, and I have read her blogs, and I was in tears reading some of the stuff because you talk about not having a charmed life. I mean, she talks about things like her mother never wanting her to smile because she looked awful. And it's like, what kind of parents would say those types of things to their child? Um, and the more and more I learned about her life growing up, her background, um, and she even talked about this on the last drive-in. I think it was like maybe their first or second Christmas show. She talked about she was basically held captive by her ex-husband, and her and her son were basically living in a hotel room and could not leave. Um, and I was like, how horrible is that? That's like that, almost like that book, The Room. Only that girl was kidnapped and molested and stuff. But Lord knows what other things happened to Darcy during that time period. Um, so from that, I have learned specifically, don't judge a book by its cover, because um, Darcy is an intelligent woman. She is a creative woman with all her cosplay stuff. I have a new appreciation for cosplay now. I didn't really understand it at first until I started watching more of Darcy and seeing how creative she is with those cosplay costumes. I mean, she can make a cosplay out of any movie that Joe Bob decides to show on the last drive-in. And so I have nothing but good things to say about this girl now. Um, as I was saying earlier, I have made my first Darcy stickers, which I'm going to be hopefully applying to some products that I hope to sell on Etsy. Some candles and glasses. Like I said before, drinking glasses, not eyeglasses. I've even got one stuck on my computer right now. I just had to try it out, and it looks pretty good on the on that tempered glass side of my computer. But I urge you to seek out Darcy's blogs, her kinky horror stuff, her Twitter page. I mean, I'll tell you, Darcy is the most, I don't want to say the most approachable, but you feel like you know her. And I'm not saying, you guys are probably, oh my God, here she goes starting to say she knows people just because she's read their blogs and stuff. But I think Darcy wants people to feel comfortable talking to her when they see her at conventions and stuff with Joe Bob. I think that's why she shares this stuff. And I think the other reason she does it is to make, as women, for us to feel stronger, and not to have low self-esteem. And I mean, she was talking about, there was an interview done with her, and she was talking about after the marathon, she seemed to have gotten so much hate from all different factions. And she kind of went to Joe Bob crying. She was crying, and she was like, I can't do this. I'm no good at it. People don't like me. And Joe Bob just kept pushing her. He said, go get your ass out there and, you know, do this. He said, you're doing fine. And I am so glad that she stuck with it and didn't give up. And she's a really cool person. She knows her horror inside and out. I mean, I don't always agree with all the movies that she likes, but the majority of them I do. And she again really compliments Joe Bob. And the special thing about her, I think, is um, I'm not saying the other girls were bimbos by any stretch of imagination. No, I'm not saying that. It's just that Darcy doesn't seem to like she's fighting off these advances from Joe Bob. And I don't mean that Joe Bob's a perv or anything, but the personality of Joe Bob has always been that, you know, like I think he said to Rusty one time on the Friday the 13th special, he said uh, something about, why don't we play hide and seek? I'll hide and you try to find my hiney or something like that. You know, he would always say things like that, and he would say things like that to Honey. And I think maybe they're trying to go for a more mature audience with the last drive-in because, or maybe just because Joe Bob's older. He doesn't seem to do that with Darcy. And I don't think the Darcy persona or even who she is in real life would stand for that. I think she would just tell him the straight of it and that would be done. But I think she really, she's been a huge fan of Joe Bob Briggs for years. And she actually met him at a book signing, I think it was a book signing, for one of his John Bloom books, which is Joe Bob Briggs' real name. And really, John Bloom is like super smart and all of that and writes like, well, he actually, I think he co-authored, I think it was co-authored by him, a true crime book years and years ago. But I think where Darcy met him, he was doing like some kind of scientific or space book, something like that. And she said she came dressed as a male girl, and she said she was around all kind of like all these real super smart people, and she kind of felt out of place doing it. And Joe Bob was like, "No, it's cool." And so they became friends after that. And then, of course, when the last drive-in came about, Darcy was the first person he thought of to be his new mail girl. And also, Darcy is doing an amazing, amazing job of like trying to get all the old Monster Vision stuff, drive-in theater, all that stuff. She's like going through like all this stuff that I would have thought had been lost by now or destroyed or whatever. But she's kind of opened the vault on all things Joe Bob. And if you join the Patreon, which is called the Lost Drive-In, John, you say, "Hey Dana, the only thing I don't like about it is how they play off her getting annoyed with Joe Bob. I feel like they do that just for the show as characters. They're probably best friends in real life." They are, John. They, I mean, all the interviews and stuff that I've read, especially the stuff that Darcy has done, she talks like they are the best of friends. And I'm guessing they have that little annoyance factor in there as they have with the other male girls, just to carry on the Joe Bob Briggs legend. Maybe I don't know, but I can see how you would rather they just be more honest, and a lot of times they are, especially those Christmas episodes. I mean, like I said, when she was telling her story about basically being held captive by her ex-husband in a hotel room with her son, and she told that whole story, I was almost in tears. And when Joe Bob told his story about how his dad never really was a fan of what he did with the Joe Bob Briggs stuff, and thought it was kind of silly and childish and stuff. But the one thing his dad did like was the Late Show, you know, with was it Johnny Carson or what? But anyway, Joe Bob ended up being asked on the show like right after his dad passed away. And he was like, I just can't do it right now. Can you ask me later? So they waited a little while and asked him again. And he told the story about having a pocket knife or something that his dad had given him. And he was just, that whole time while he was waiting backstage, he was just kind of holding that pocket knife in his hand. And I thought he was actually going to cry when he was telling it. It was very poignant. Both of the stories that they told were very poignant. And Darcy talks about finally getting free of the ex-husband. And granted, she had to be a stripper or an exotic dancer or whatever you want to call it. And, you know, I used to frown upon stuff like that. But then when I heard her talk about it, how her and her son had the best Christmas ever once she did that, and she was able to break free of that abusive ex-husband. And I don't know, I just had a whole new, like I said, she's been a huge eye-opener for me. John, you say, oh, okay, see, I never remember much before Monster Vision, but that makes sense then. Maybe it's the format as always. Yeah, I think they wanted to hold on to a few of those old Joe Bob things, you know. But I just think with the introduction of Darcy, they wanted to make it less about him wanting to get a girl to sit on his lap or something like that, and more about them having an interaction with each other, more about them playing off of each other than just him making sexist comments and Darcy having to come back with that, because I think they are supposed to have maybe a different type of relationship than he has had with the past male girls. Like I said before, I think they're all eye candy. You can't get around that. There's no way to get around that. And in some sense, they're there as eye candy, but they know that they're not dummies. They're self-aware of this idea of eye candy, but there's so much more to them, to all the male girls. And I think Darcy has been the one that they've allowed to give us that more, to open that door a little bit more and let us see inside who they really are more, rather than just a persona. And I think Joe Bob's doing a little bit of that too. But anyway, I think I've I've gushed and apologized to Darcy and everything, and I would like, in case you hear this, Darcy, or watch this, I would like to publicly apologize to you again. You are a great person. Keep your head held high, and you are doing an awesome job on the Last Drive-In, and doing an awesome job with the Patreon for the Lost Drive-In, which I would highly, highly recommend you guys check out. I've gotten a lot of cool merchandise, including 2 Blu-rays that Darcy has put together of clips and different clips and things from Drive-In Theater and Monster Vision and all those things. So if you pay $35 a month, which is the top tier, you basically get everything. And honestly, I don't think that's too much to pay. Steve thinks I'm crazy for paying that, but like I said, I've gotten a lot of cool things, including those 2 Blu-rays. I've gotten a t-shirt, I've gotten a hoodie, I've got a ceramic mug, I've got a poster that has Ernie, the bearded dragon, who I ended up naming my second bearded dragon Ernie after the Ernie on the last drive-in. Um, so, yeah, if you guys got any questions or, any comments or anything, hey, Darren, I was just about to wrap things up around here, but I was saying if anybody has any questions or comments or anything, questions they want to ask me, maybe something that I left out that I can shed some light on for you guys, feel free to ask me in the chat there. I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes or so to respond if you'd like. Texas, you say, I'll tweet Darcy if you want and tell her that you apologize. She'll be bewildered. Just kidding. You're awesome, Dana. Texas, I have to ask you, do you know Darcy personally? I was just wondering because I know you have like Texas in your screen name or your handle or whatever, and I was just wondering if you somehow were a friend of hers or something. That would be awesome if you was. It's okay if you're not, though. But yeah, I have. This isn't the first time I publicly apologize. I think at one of our later. Oh no, but you have exchanged tweets. I've exchanged tweets with her as well. I just would never, sometimes I guess in the heat of the moment, like that song, you say things and you're not thinking how this might affect somebody. Because in all honesty, a lot of people don't give a shit what you say about them. But I really don't understand why I said those things about her, being as sensitive as I am, and how hurt I get when people say things about me. I guess sometimes we think people in the public eye or whatever just are stronger than we are or something. But like I said, the more I read about her, the more I realized, hey, this is a real person with real feelings. And you can't just start spouting off stuff about people without really getting a sense of who they are, what they're all about, what they're trying to do. And I really didn't give her a chance before I started making comments. I will say she has definitely grown on me, and I would have to say she's probably, I said I wasn't going to rank them, but she's probably my favorite male girl, honestly. John, you say, honestly, if it wasn't for Monster Vision, I wouldn't really be as much of a horror fan. I'll always love some Joe Bob. John, I think that probably introduced a whole new generation of people to horror movies that they maybe weren't aware of because of Joe Bob. And just the format, the way that he would introduce them and do the drive-in totals, and the drive-in totals again is something that the last drive-in is carried over from Monster Vision, and maybe from, I want to say he did drive-in totals on drive-in theater as well, but. Has anybody, speaking of Joe Bob, has anybody ever seen the Joe Bob Briggs Dead in Concert video? I actually have the actual video. I think I got it off of eBay many moons ago. And I probably transferred it over to DVD just in case something happened to my VHS. I mean, I almost wore that VHS out watching it. And my mom always thought it was funny because he basically, in Joe Bob Briggs' Dead in Concert, he kind of does a stand-up comedy routine. and puts his Porter Wagner jacket and stuff on. It's just hilarious. And they do the drive-in oath and all that. So if you haven't seen that, I would try to find. I think YouTube, probably somebody's got it out on YouTube. John, you say, oh yeah, being 13 and 14 in the late 90s, that was the only real way to know about horror besides video stores. It was a must-see. Now, John, you're probably, if you were 13 and 14 in the late 90s, then you're a little bit younger than I am. See, I graduated from high school in 1994. So, yeah, we're kind of close in age then, but I believe you should be slightly younger. But I think we're close enough in age that we remember a lot of the same movies and stuff. So, okay. Does anybody else have anything they want to ask? Or John, you say 1984 here, so I really didn't get into it until mid-90s and late 90s. Okay. So yeah, I was born in 76, so we got a few years between us. So Texas, you tried to find my t-shirts and no luck. Can you post a link, please? Yeah, give me just a second here. And I will see. Maybe see if that works for you, Texas. If not, I will, I'll try to find another link here. Darky said, my first time seeing gator bait on the drive-in, didn't realize it was shot here in Shreveport, Louisiana. Yeah, my first time ever was watching gator bait was on the last drive-in, because I had always heard of that movie, and it had Claudia Jennings, who unfortunately had a short life. You are welcome, Texas. Like I said, if that one doesn't work, just let me know, because maybe that's the reason why not too many people have been buying shirts, because they can't get to the dang site to. It worked awesome. Okay. Now don't feel like you got to buy a bunch of stuff, Texas. Honestly, if you find a t-shirt design or something that you like, feel free to buy to your heart's content. But I just don't want people to feel like, that they have to. I think while I'm giving links here, I will just give a link to my Etsy shop, sorry, in case anybody's interested in checking that out as well, the Morbid Beauty Boutique. But before I cut this off, does anybody else have anything they want to ask me or bring up or comment on? because I'd be glad to try to answer whatever you got to throw at me. I hadn't heard. Yeah, I'm sorry, Texas. I I forget that sometimes because honestly, I don't think that's how I put it in originally, but I'm guessing that's how T Public puts it in. So I do apologize for that. Um, but I was going to say I hadn't heard any or hadn't seen any comments from Wes and Aaron. Perhaps they're watching SmackDown because, like Wes said, I was competing with SmackDown. So um, I hear my dog Brandon coming in there. Yeah, it's just sometimes I get confused with these storefronts and stuff like that. And this is my first foray into like having made to order shirts and stuff like that done. So I'm still getting my feet wet with that, and I'm still getting my feet wet with the Etsy shop as well. Um, I was just the reason why I opened the Etsy shop was I was sitting around thinking one day, why don't I just like start making some candles? Why don't I make horror candles? Okay, so how can I sell these? Um, and then it occurred to me, oh, people have Etsy shops. I could do that. So I looked into it, found out that you can do a shop for free. I think they only charge you like 20 cents a month per listing that you have. So you can have quite a few listings and not have to pay very much at all. Um, oh well, thank you, Texas. I feel like I should apologize though for that because, like I said, it's a lot of this stuff is still new to me, and I, like I said, I'm still getting my feet wet. No, Dirk, I haven't rewatched Hereditary yet. It might be a little bit before I do that. Maybe I'll try to do a double feature and do Hereditary and watch Midsummer for the first time. Um, I did see what you put in the chat from last night when I was doing the final girl stream with CK and Uncle Bill. That you didn't understand why or how I could like It Follows and not and hate Hereditary. And, at this point, I really can't answer that. I don't know. I think other than the fact that the family in Hereditary annoyed me so much, and it just did not seem like there was. I mean, I know there wasn't any annoying, whiny ass families in It Follows. I mean, it was pretty much the young people in that. And I don't know. I just thought, and maybe if I rewatch it, I'll think differently. But I just thought that even the parents in Hereditary, there was something off about them. Something just not. They didn't seem like a normal family to me, and I guess they weren't really. Um, John, you say, I think growing up in anywhere in the South, it was like football or band. And if you liked movies or horror, you were the oddballs. Exactly. So Joe Ball was like an early Dead Pit without the live streams, huh? Um, and actually, speaking of live streams in connection with Joe Ball, I think another good thing about him uh, getting hooked up with Darcy, as far as her being his mail girl now, is Darcy's pretty, internet savvy. She's a younger person, and she seems to. I feel like I'm going to sneeze, guys. Oh, boy. Am I going to sneeze or not? Oh, you know how it comes on you all of a sudden and you feel like you're going to sneeze and then you don't? I just wish it wouldn't happen now. Oh, it's actually snowing here, or it was snowing here earlier. We've got like a winter weather advisory going on now. It's like got 70 degrees one day and 30 degrees the next day. It's like, it's crazy. Um, well, and the thing is, I usually like Tony Collette. Um, but I just, I don't know. Just give me some time, Dirk. Um, I will try my best to rewatch it, and I am planning on watching Midsummer. Um, I believe Steve's got the 4K of Hereditary, so maybe we both can sit down and watch it. Um, you say it's definitely a slow burn. Um, but what I was saying about like live streams and Joe Bob, I think Darcy is kind of like introduced him to that kind of stuff. I mean, she's the Twitter expert male girl, you know. She's always on Twitter during the shows and stuff like that. And Steve told me, and like some of you may agree with him on this. Maybe I'm just stupid and don't realize that about how the shows are recorded. Steve said, you know that they're not, like, she's not tweeting with you guys live when those shows are on, that those are pre-recorded. I said, yeah, but it's odd because I'll sometimes be on Twitter when the shows are on, and Darcy will have her phone. She'll be, you know, like she's doing the Twitter stuff. And Joe Bob will ask her to ask people stuff on Twitter, and it automatically comes up when it's being shown. So I'm not sure exactly how they do it. I understand a lot of things are pre-recorded, but they really, if it is pre-recorded, then they really have it worked out really good, because the in between them pre-recording it and it actually being broadcast is seamless, in my opinion. So maybe some of you can shed some light on that. You know, I never claimed to be the sharpest crayon in the box, so um, Steve looks at me sometimes like I'm insane. You know, he like, Dana, how could you say something so foolish? You know, or do you realize that what you said just makes absolutely no sense? Or I thought you were smarter than that. I just get these looks like, um, but I am what I am, you know. Texas, you say she does tweet live, watching a feed of the show or something, because she tweeted me live when the show was happening. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, Steve tried to tell me that even that wasn't going on live, and I was like, well, I don't know how they do it then. Um, so yeah, and she responds all the time, like really quickly when people put stuff on there. I mean, she is on top of it. Um, I mean, you always see her fingers moving on that phone all the time, unless she's specifically interacting with Joe Bob, and then you don't see that. Um, excuse me. But anything else y'all want to bring up or ask or comment on? You can even tell me this live stream sucked. That's okay. I'm a tough gal. I'm tougher than I used to be. I can handle it. Because again, this was one of those last minute things that I just thought about yesterday evening. Well, not a few hours before I did the live stream with CK and Uncle Bill. Dark, you say they always joke that Shutter might fire them, but really they're the reason I bought a subscription. Dark, I actually think that's why a lot of people got a subscription. Steve and I already had a subscription, or Steve had purchased a subscription already. And so that was just icing on the cake when we discovered that Joe Bob was going to come back and do a show. Once we knew that marathon, we kind of pretty much knew that wasn't going to be the end of Joe Bob with that marathon. I I especially thought this is a setup for some show that they're planning on carrying over. I'm just glad that it has kept going so far. Um, and Texas, you say you did as well. Like I said, I'm sure the introduction of having Joe Bob and Darcy do the last drive-in show for Shudder really bumped up their subscription numbers. Um, John, you say his Lifetime movie rant was hilarious, spot on. Um, you know what I call LMN, John? I call it the Women in Peril channel. So yeah, I liked his rant on that. I really did. I really appreciate it. It's not that I haven't ever watched anything on LMN. It's just that the majority of the movies are Women in Peril, or the WHIP channel, as I call it for short. Some woman's either been raped or molested when she was a child, or beat, or any number of things. Um, and I've watched my fair share of that kind of stuff over the years. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite about it, but that does seem like women being abused is the hallmark of that channel. Uh, Looked like Darren was starting to type something, but he retracted it. So, come on, Darren, you can put something in there. Maybe he just mistyped or something. Hoes Get Revenge channel. Oh, boy. You say sometimes you just fast forward to Joe Bob's rants. Well, when I'm watching them later, when they're not live, sometimes if the movie I'm not really jazzed about, I will just fast forward to Joe Bob's segments. Darren, you say you might put some of the new Joe Bob episodes on DVD. Yeah, I think that would be an excellent idea. I might put some, because I have not even had a chance, guys, to take my Blu-ray burner out of the box yet and try it out. But I might want to put some of those on a Blu-ray too. I'm not sure. I just got a chill. It's cold. It's damn cold back in this room. I was going to run the heater, but we've got a little heater back here, but then I forgot about it. But it's like steadily getting colder in here. I was going to say, I'm not sure about the quality, how it'll turn out. I'm just going to have to practice and see what happens. Darren, you say he did some great ones when he had that 24-hour marathon. I agree. They kind of... almost they showed too many great ones, because that doesn't leave a whole lot more of the great ones to show, because I think that was probably the first time I ever saw Tourist Trap. And I love that movie now. But then there were others, Pieces and stuff like that I've seen dozens of times. But I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I had to watch it in pieces. There was no way. I'm an old woman now. I can't stay up straight through and watch that like I could have maybe years ago. I like The Prowler as well. And like I said, I enjoyed Pieces being on there. Sleepaway Camp. And having Felissa Rose on there, and having Darcy cosplay the Judy character, and the whole thing her and Felissa Rose did, and she had the curling iron and everything. It was awesome. But yeah, I will agree with you, Darren, saying Tourist Trap and Prowler were some of the top ones. Yeah. John, you say he's also not really pro anything. He just lays it out logically. I get sick of politics and horror, so his rants are refreshing. Um, yeah, I do too, John. Um, I hate how everything seems to have an agenda now. Why can't we just have a horror movie without an agenda like we used to? Just a good old fashioned slasher movie. No agendas, no I'm going to talk about, and please, if you're lesbian, bi, gay, trans, whatever, please don't take offense at this because I love all of you guys. Um, and I hold no ill will towards anybody, especially people in that community. I do not. But I have noticed that they seem to try to cram so much of the LBTGQ or whatever into movies now, which I'm not turned off by seeing two women kiss or two guys kiss or whatever, but it's like they just have to make a point about it. It's like, oh, we can't leave this group out. I'm not asking you to leave the group out, but do we have to have it so overt? Like you're getting on your soapbox and you're going to show that. I don't think that's what that community wants, honestly. I mean, I don't want to speak out of turn or anything, but I think they just want to be allowed to live their own lifestyle without criticism from everybody under the sun. I think that's what they really want. Um, Jay, did you did I bore you and you tuned out somewhere along the way? Because you said, did I miss all the fun? Well, if you miss some of this stuff, you're more than welcome to go back and rewatch. Um, Darren, you say, I only got to see Joe Bob when YouTube started. Couldn't get him over here back in the day. He's one of the best things to happen to the genre. I completely agree with that statement, Darren. Um, Jay, you say you got here just in time for the sermon. Oh, man, Sister Dana. Oh, Wes, I'm sorry I offended you, buddy. Um, Dirk, you say Sledgehammer and Things is old Curly's favorite Joe Bob episode. It probably is, Dirk. Um, but, oh, man. It's not even really late now. I mean, it's only 9:30 here. What time is it where you're at, Darren? What time is it in the UK? And Jay, what time is it where you're at? Actually, because it seems so odd when other people in other parts of the world tell you what time it is, and you don't think about it. You only think about, or I do, I only tend to think about what time it is here, Eastern time, and it really flips my perception when somebody says, "Hey, it's such and such, it's daylight here," or whatever. Um, oh Lord, Darren, it's 2:30 in the morning. Man, you're up late, bud. Um, Jay, you said you had to cripple walk to the grocery. Now I got popcorn, beer, and food. 11:30 a.m. See, that just is so strange. Yes, Wes, I know. It's 9:30 here too. Well, we're in the same state and everything, buddy. Um, John, you say, well, it was always there. It's just filmmakers now are so lazy they got to throw it up on you versus just making you think. 2022, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, there was always that subtle, it never was not there. But now they feel like, it seems like filmmakers feel like they got an obligation to put it out there where it's just, you know, it doesn't need to be done like that. You don't need to get on your soapbox about everything, especially with horror films, I don't think. Um, UK is 5 hours ahead of us. Yeah, I can't. I always forget what it is. What that Texas. You say it's 8:30 here. Wes is asking, do y'all spring forward in England? Darren, you say your body clock is American. Jay, you say it's a big world. Haven't talked to a white person face to face in 6 months, and there's no diversity on TV. Poor me. Uh, yeah, I kind of wondered about that, Darren, too. That if you guys spring forward, and I'm guessing you fall back as well in the fall. Um, like Steve says that that's so stupid. First of all, he tells me there should just be Eastern time. He thinks the Central time thing is a stupid thing, and that Eastern time is the only real time. And of course, my parents are on Central time. So it took me a little while to get used to this Eastern time all the time. After Steve and I got married, I moved in, we got married, and I was in Louisville all the time then. But then Steve also thinks it's stupid to have the spring forward because he tells me every year. And he talks about me repeating stuff over and over. I hear this every year. Oh, it's getting ready to spring forward and I'm going to lose an hour. I hear that every year when it's time for it to spring forward. I want to say, just go with it, Steve. Just go with it. Darren, you say, yeah, usually a week before your sales. Okay. John, you say, damn March winter. Jay, you say, no springing here, dark and winter. Steve is wrong about time zones. Mountain time. Woohoo. Yeah, I'm going to have to tell him that, Jay. Yeah, mountain time's the one to go with. But, let's see. Do I have anything else I want to yak about? And I can't really think of anything. So, what the hell is going on? It never snows. Well, she said, next time Steve bitches, ask him if he wants cheese with all that wine. Oh, man. You know, I broke down and told him about what I said last night about him almost licking the television screen when some good-looking woman came on the screen. And, you know, I didn't think he would be mad about it, but I thought I ought to warn him in case he watched that whole thing and heard me say that and all of us laughing and stuff. And he said, I don't do that, which was about all he said. But, Darren, you say, no snow this year for us in Wales. Scotland got all of it. Well, we're getting an unexpected snow now. Wes, is it snowing in eastern Kentucky? Because we got a winter weather advisory here. Darky said, yeah, you want some French fries with that Wahlburger? Yeah, Steve doesn't whine around about many things, but if you mess with his sleep, that's when he whines. But I've told him before, it's like, no snow yet? Okay. You guys might not get any. It might be a central and western, maybe, and a southern Indiana thing. Jay, I'm just having an image there. You say you buy the movie posters and lick the ladies on those. Darren, you want to know how far I am from CK and UB? Well, you know, we went to Prestonsburg once, and it was over 3 hours just to get there. I don't envision Steve going there anytime soon. So, um, well, she say Steve has to get 18 hours of sleep per day like a cat. Yeah, he wants to sleep about like our dog Brandon. Brandon sleeps most of the day. There's a bot there. They came in late. Ivan Kozlov. Well, she say you're supposed to get 4 inches of snow. Okay, well maybe it's going to get to you guys later. Darky say it never snows here in Victor Crowley country, but it's snowing in the damn swamp in March. um, but yeah, like I said, if you mess with Steve's sleep patterns, it's like you can ask Wes about this. Um, when we came for one of the screenings that they had at the Strand, I think it was, what was I'm trying to remember. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember what it was. This is awful, Wes. What was the streaming? What was the screening we came to that time? Was it Madman or something else? I can't for the life of me recall now. But anyway, the point is that everybody else was like all okay. It was Madman. Okay, everybody else was all jazzed about. There were a whole bunch of us, and like everybody else was talking and laughing and carrying on and stuff. Maybe it's better than Burning. Yeah, I know. But Steve was like, I think we were at Wes's house, and like, I think even like Wes's mom at the time might have asked if Steve was all right. I know somebody asked if Steve was all right because everybody else was talking, laughing, and everything. Steve's like way over in the corner with his head down, almost going to sleep. And he actually went to sleep in the Strand Theater. I, I was a little bit embarrassed because he was snoring so loud. And I wanted to like punch him in the arm or something and say, hey, come on, Steve, wake up. But yeah, that just goes to show you how, like, if Steve is deprived of his however many hours of sleep that he needs, that's the reaction you get. It's like somebody has just completely drugged him. Jay, you say, sure you don't want to hear about the cherry blossoms I just saw? Sure, we can hear about it. Dirk, you say, Wes the Prowler is better than both. Ha well, I would have to say I like the Burning better than the Prowler. I enjoy the Prowler, but I would have to say that the Burning is probably my favorite of those of the two. So, but then I probably like. Wes is going to kill me for this. I probably like the Prowler better than Madman, though. And it doesn't mean that I hate Madman. I don't. It's just that's the particular order I like them in. But anyway, I have actually not all this time has been talking about Joe Bob's Mail Girls. The majority of it was, but we've had a fun conversation, talked about some other things. The Prowler's missing a good theme song. Hey, I tell you what, Wes, you need to create one. Since you're proficient on the guitar and everything, you need to come up with a theme song for the Prowler. I actually I think I have the Prowler Waxwork record, but I don't know that I've listened to it yet. So, Wes, she said, Madman had the best overall package. Depends on who you ask, though. But anyway, what I was, Dirk, you say you'll give Madman that. Uh, what I was going to say is, go on Patreon. We already did it. Did you already do a theme song for Prowler? Oh, hell, Lord. Darren, you said The Burning, My Bloody Valentine, The Fun House, best three slashers. I love The Prowler and Madman too. See, Darren's more like, me and Darren seem to be in sync on a lot of different horror movies. There have been a few where, like, Darren was surprised that I didn't like them. For instance, like Torso. And maybe there was another one, but I can't recall right now. But, guys, I would love to, go on all night, but I'm going to have to, well, one thing, I have to run to the restroom. And, two, I'm feeling like I need to eat a little something else. I don't think my blood sugar is exactly low, but I've been having a lot of headaches and stuff like that. Not, I've not been sick, but just not feeling 100%. So I think I'm getting ready to cut this thing off here. I'm going to read these last few things. Darren, you say it's weird, but we like 95% of films. Yep, I would agree to that. Wes, you say, I like The Burning, but aside from Savini's makeup, it doesn't have much going for it. Okay, you can't make somebody like something better than they like it. Darren says, Torso rocks. Texas, you say you love Torso. Dark, you say, anybody know the best price on The Witch? I ain't buying from Second Sight, $24 shipping. Oh, you're welcome, Jay. I enjoy all this interaction back and forth. But with that being said, I think I'm going to cut this off for the night. I thank all of you guys for joining me. Wes, let me know when you and Aaron want to do that prom night commentary. Do y'all want to wait till May or something like that? I think that's actually when prom goes on. And you can get back to me on that, for like on details. Because I'd be completely up for that. I have done a commentary with Steve on it previously, but I'd be willing to do another one. You have a good night too, Darren. And with that good night, I think it's time for me to say good night. May sounds good. Okay, well, you can get together with Aaron and like work out the details on that. Jay, you say, Darren, I heard international shipping is going to double in June. Buy things now. Good night, Jay. Yeah, I'm going to call it a night, guys, and I hope to be back with something again soon. I'll probably dovetail on Steve's show tomorrow night. Thank you, Dirk. I appreciate that. And I will see you guys on the flip side.